we've had conversations about what how important it is to keep an eye on the future. We've now audited, we've looked at our budgets, we've looked at our internal processes, we've looked at tools, we've looked at numbers, we've gotten nerdy and looked at our AdWords and analytics accounts and really dived into how they've been performing and why and everything. But when we're putting our plan for the next year, it's not just adjusting the numbers a little bit. It's also looking at what the future could look like, right? So I'd love for you to jump in and address some specifics that could impact, like why is it important to look to the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of talked about a couple of these topics, but the most constant thing that we have in digital marketing is that everything's changing. So I really think it's incredibly important to lean on your partners to be educators to you because there's so much happening. I mean, even the last couple months, we've had GA4, we've had vehicle ads transitioning over to PMAX. We're seeing a larger focus on PMAX, and that's just in Google Ads. We're seeing generative search coming in for SEO, which is going to impact the entire search engine results experience. It's changing the entire landscape of digital marketing. And it's going to be, I imagine next year is going to be a really busy, exciting year in the digital space. So I think just, leaning on your partners, be a lifelong learner yourself, and then using your partners as educators is going to be incredibly important for 2024 as a whole.
I would say stay tuned. We address multiple times a year webinars that talk about all the things that are upcoming. And it's so important, like Sarah mentioned, to be informed, understand what's happening. How is Google or Meta moving? Microsoft is coming out with some interesting search and just tools by industry. They're coming up with things. So it's really important to have your finger on the pulse. But what are some specific elements that we absolutely need to be paying attention to that are real, that are happening, that people need to be considering for 2024? Anybody want to chime in? I know, Amanda, you had something interesting.
I feel like I'm going to end this webinar on such a sour note.
Never.
Something that we definitely need to take into consideration for next year is political and its impact on advertising. So in 2020, I think we saw record spending, but in 2024, we are poised to break that record yet again. So I know in a lot of important markets, we're already seeing 2024 general election spending happening. I'm sure everyone here has already seen some political ads talking about next year's presidential election. So we definitely want to make sure that we are political proofing our advertising campaigns, especially in markets that they would consider quote unquote purple. So they don't always skew Republican, they don't always skew Democrat, they're truly up for grabs. Those are going to be markets like Texas and Pennsylvania and Virginia. Local advertisers are really going to suffer in those markets next year, unfortunately. There are ways around it though. So things like if you absolutely are doing traditional advertising, you really want to consider annual planning, making sure you're getting early at advantageous rates, making sure that your added value are things that are sticking. So not bonus spots, that would be the very first thing to get preempted, but things like news and weather and traffic sponsorships, things that are branded within your radio station or your TV station that should run regardless of the political climate. The other thing that you can do with an annual plan is really be strategic with your flighting. So maybe you avoid the month leading up to a primary, or you completely avoid October in general, leading up to that election the first week of November. But those are things to consider when you're heading into 2024 as far as traditional is concerned. And if your share of voice is being overtaken by the political onslaught, there are things you can do like connected TV and online video and still reach that audience and still have that brand awareness, but at a very much one-to-one scale, and not really have to be concerned about getting you know, getting caught up in that advertising clutter.